Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see so many of you here. Now that most of the Plone core developers are at Plone 2020 Open Space, I hope we can talk something fun here meanwhile. So I work for university, and I started Plone, I think it's Plone 1.5, so it's more than 10 years ago. And back then, Plone was, so I saw the time when developing with Plone was very much fun. So you just used your browser and tried to do anything and changed everything, and you got instant feedback and instant error from Plone. And of course, back then when you had to migrate to a new Plone version, you kind of might have lost all your changes and you had to start again. But at least it was fun back then. So what if we can bring at least half part of that fun back to the current version of Plone? So you have set up Plone instance running on some cloud service easily, clicking a button somewhere. And then you have a feature request. For example, I have an event coming, and from the event we get a lot of photos, and I want to publish those photos on Plone site, and with a nice layout, like that fancy pictures wall-like layout is responsive and can show a lot of pictures with different aspect ratios and sort them out nicely. And when you have different sizes of screens, it will also reflow them nicely. And of course, one more feature, I also would like that participants of that event can also submit their pictures so that I can review them and then publish them if they are any good. And now in this our fun scenario, I just created a clean Plone site on cloud. This runs on Heroku. And I have researched so I ordered that features from some small Plone agency, and I got a zip file back from them. It was maybe a few days of work, and they built me, I got the zip file. And now I go to my whole Plone site, I want to update that zip file there. So it's like looks like I'm uploading a theme. And yes, it could be also a theme. And I click check so that it's instantly activated. And now when we go to Plone site, well, it looks like nothing happened. So it still looks the same. Because now the theme in this demo, it's actually just reuses all the resources from Plone 5 default theme. But there should be something new here. I have a new content type called wall of images. So that was the one I was requested for that Plone agency. Yeah, so we get wall of nice public domain images. And now I have a bunch of my own images I want to submit there. So luckily on Plone 5, I can go to contents and use that nice, fast, upload all the files at once feature. I select the files and guess the right word in German. And here are previous, and now it should upload. I think this is not running the latest Plone, so I guess that's why I don't see the nice scroll bar here, progress bar. But you can see in the background something is happening, and the photos are going off from the upload pop-up. Okay, so now we are ready. We close the upload. And now we have our new public domain image wall here. Yeah. So we have a list of nicely layouted images. And when I zoom in and zoom out, they are responsive setups for these images. Now, if I find the plus sign, yes, if I found, oh, this is 0. Okay. Well, if we had, okay, different browser sizes. So mobile, only one image per tile, and larger screen, we see more images at once. Okay. Now the next step was, I want to make this so that my event participants can also upload their own images. So let's make it at least public at first, so that they can see all the images. We have another browser somewhere. Here we see our pub site as not logged in. We see our wall of public domain images as not logged in user. Okay, so as before. And now we have an extra workflow state here. Let's open this wall of images for submissions. Done. And now when I go as anonymous user to pages, I see this submit an image link. And I can select one of the images I didn't upload yet. And now I get the nice message that, okay, thank you for your submission. It will be reviewed soon. And as you can see, I don't see the image here yet. Of course, we don't want to immediately publish all those images anyone can submit there. But as owner of the site, or reviewer of the site, I see a portlet of review list here. It looks nicer when you have wider screen. But it's sort of one new submission. And with the proper click, I can open it and accept it. And now, as the visitor, I can see the new railway station image at the bottom. And all these features came with that theme that didn't really even add a new theme here. And that's kind of fun I'm looking for. And for our university, we want to stay more competitive with the other vendors. We are like we are like our own department. We offer services for other departments, but we would like to look competitive compared to the rivals outside the university. So we are looking for cheaper and faster ways to deploy new features for Plone, like you see now. So what did we actually see here? Yes, we have the team which actually only replayed everything in Barcelona. But then we had from the resources, we had Masonry.js called JavaScript library that made a very nice layout of the images. And it can lay out anything that has fixed dimensions, not only images. So in Plone, I can easily see it's layouting different types of content types also. Then we had the folder content type, wall of images, with accepted images, and then now that our custom content later. And then we had our custom view template that rendered all those images and something enough for Masonry.js to make that layout, activate the layout. And then the hard part was that how do we accept custom anonymous submissions? So of course, on Plone, we can do custom workflows. So that package includes a custom workflow, and that's a custom image content type. Because when you need to apply custom workflow, it's most easier to apply it to custom content type. We also have placeable workflow, so you can activate different workflow policy for different folders. But it's more advanced, I think. And be a little bit more secure, we added also a custom permission to only apply for that new custom content type, to be really sure that we only allow anonymous users to only add that content type, even if they know some magic URLs in Plone. And the last policing was that we added content rule that showed customers the message, that thank you for submission, and it also did redirect the user back to the folder page, so that because the anonymous user who uploaded the image cannot access the image. The image goes in private review state immediately. So we need to redirect the user back to the front page of the image so that the user didn't get error. And we added that a review portlet that comes by default with Plone to the root of the Plone site. And what we didn't see, there is also internationalization and localization messages, that if I would have created that site as in Finnish language, I would have shown Finnish messages and Finnish names for the content types and Finnish messages for the content rule. So thank you for submissions. So now if we go with the traditional way, for example, you take the latest many years old professional Plone developers handbook for Plone 4 and develop according to these practices. Yes, we like to make everything generic, everything Python package. You would create at least one generic Python package for the front-end resources, another for the content types, nice, reusable, testable, tested generic Python packages, and then a few more packages to make the generic components fit well with your customer team. And finally, you would need to update your site policy package to knit everything together nicely. And of course, when you have all these packages for those features, you still need to have the deploy workflow to package everything and release everything, and finally restart your instances, Plone servers, so that users don't get any downtime. But with this fun theme approach, you simply have everything in that cheap theme package, and you upload it to your Plone site. Replace the current theme with the new one. It includes both the new version of the theme with integration for these features and configuration for these features. And you can do the upload by clicking the browser, and you can have some kind of robot automation for that using Selenium, or I have created a small NPM package called Plone theme upload. It can be installed with NPM, which takes a folder of the theme and then address of your Plone portal root, and it makes a zip package of the theme, and then on the behind clicks through the Plone site and asks your username and password and saves your cookie to make the re-uploads easier, and then does the final upload. And there's no step 3. Of course, there are limitations, because if you do everything only through theme, you cannot do everything you can do with Python package. But you can do a lot. Of course, we have configuratable settings in Plone. Nowadays, we all have almost everything in Plone registry that has the control panel you can edit. And also, all the control panels they are in Plone site setup. Yes, we can define custom content types through the web using browser. We can that new dexterity content types in Plone 4 and Plone 5, and define fields and even more with kind of widgets they have and everything, if you know how to do that. And our documentation is not really so complete and updated on that, but by looking for examples, you get pretty far. And we have the reusable content type behaviors you can activate on your content type. Those behaviors are the ones you cannot develop through the web, but you can enable it if they are, or ask someone to develop those two and then use those by yourself. And yeah, we can make workflows through the web, configure roles and permissions through workflow. What we cannot do by default is to define new permissions. So I come to later how that's possible. And we can configure all kinds of portlets. In Plone current versions, we have those so-called context portlets you assign into some folders, and they inherit the subfolders. But there are lesser-known portlets, content type portlets that only are displayed on some content type, some specific content types, and there are group portlets that are only displayed for users belonging to some certain groups. And I don't even remember how you can reach all those features through Plone site, but they are somewhere there. I think going to Plone user and groups from site setup, you can set the group portlets, and going to content types in Plone site setup, you can find configuration for the content type portlets. But those are fun. And one of the feature you should really know how to use is content rules. So you can configure event-triggered content rules on Plone. That something happened, like there is new content uploaded or content state changes or something else. There are a lot of events there, and there are custom packages that add more of them. you can have actions like show a message or send email or move that object somewhere inside the Plone, and a lot of more. And then we can define completely new views, templates, those display the content on views, and even have support to Python scripts for those. Because you can write small Python scripts inside templates, but when you need something more processing, you really need to extract that into a separate Python script. And finally, we can also include in theme all static resources we want, JavaScript and CSS, and then only know how to configure them on, and then we can use Diazo to do and moving stuff around the page. And there have been separate talks about how to make Plone theming. And probably I forgot something here, but a lot. Well, this is the most advanced topic here, I guess. What does it mean that those are restricted templates and restricted Python scripts? Well, in Plone there are, as I said, the Python packages you install in Plone and then restart Plone, those can do anything. But in Plone you can also upload code to the web, to the browser, write new code in the browser, and anything you do to the browser are considered restricted or untrusted. And they have a limited set of features you can do there. And I think Steve McMahon said quite well that what is this restricted Python that powers those templates and Python scripts that can be included in theme or entered into Plone. Previously, we added a lot of them into portal skins/custom, I think. Many of you probably have done it if you have used Plone 2 or Plone 3. Now it's a little bit frowned upon that you shouldn't use that approach. So it's not a sandbox, but it's just kind of saves your user doing stupid things. So you don't accidentally, for example, delete files on your server by writing those scripts. And we're a little shy about the security of those scripts. My understanding is that we don't know any active exploits in those. So whatever you add to the web, okay, they can run things in your Plone side with the permissions of the user, like delete objects on Plone side, but they cannot access your server, your file system, like go there and delete the whole database of Plone. But we don't really call them 100% safe because, of course, we cannot prove that, and there might always be something we don't know. But basically, they are the feature that makes Plone really Plone. That you can Plone is one of the I don't know if there are any other system that can allow you to write like real code, to do custom stuff without being afraid that code breaks everything. But of course, as I said, it comes with some price. So people say it's not very Pythonic. You cannot import libraries you can do on a normal Plone. You need to do a thing called restricted traverse to find Plone restricted APIs and do stuff. And those are not always complete, they're not up to date, and they are not anymore so well documented, they are scattered around Plone ecosystem. So you kind of need to know from examples where you find things so that you can do extra things there. And for the last 2 years, we have, with a lot of voice of Plone API, how Plone API makes it easier to program Plone and automate Plone. But when Plone API was made, we thought that all these restricted Python things are past, that we don't use them anymore, and they are just standing in out of way. Even many of us still think they are fun. So that was not taken account with Plone API. So Plone API by default cannot be used from restricted Python, nor is designed to be usable from that. So if there are ways how you can enable Plone API to be usable from restricted Python scripts, but then there are real chances that if you have untrusted users, they can do bad things on your server. So if these are not well documented and they are all around, how do you know what to do? So this is my favorite book, Practical Plone 3. I think it practically covers everything I saw before. So everything except dexterity content types. So how do you make content rules? How do you make workflows? And how do you write Python script? How do you write Plone page template for the browser? So if you like the approach and still want to do this, you need to find this piece of this book. It's a killer. And if you can affect what packages are available on your system, there is a very old package called Product Doc Finder tab that adds a new tab in job management interface. And that tab kind of shows you what kind of public API each object or tool in Plone on job 2 level offers. And that was the thing we used a lot at Plone 2 era, 10 years ago. So, if this is so much fun, why don't we speak more of this? And I recommend you use these features, or have not done so for the last few years. Is that I think probably almost all of the Plone core developers have at some point have had to migrate some project where they have to fix a site, upgrade the site where previous developers have used a lot of these features, and that have caused a lot of technical depth. And because in Plone you can add those scripts and templates on everywhere on the system, and when you do upgrade the next version of Plone, those may got broken, and it's a lot of work to find those and upgrade those and fix those. And because most of the Plone core developers have done that kind of work, they try to avoid doing that again, and recommend not using these features. Because in the technical depth, that makes more expensive to do the upgrades. But this topic of the day is how to go around these limitations. Because when we pack everything in theme, all the custom code is in one place. So you can find it, and you can upgrade it for newer Plone versions. So what we can do with these advanced themes, we can use everything I listed before. All the customizations can be included in the theme, at least almost all of them. And they can be created through the web, creating new theme and starting adding things there. And they can be edited, or they can be customized using the Plone theme editor. And if you make a great mistake and you lose your old version, you can always go to try to find the right version through job 2 undo. Well, it's like kind of last resort, but it's there. One of our best features. But of course, because you work in theme editor, you can always zip export your stuff on your local computer, work on there, and then re-import this stuff like I did in the beginning of the talk. I imported zip package theme and got all those features. So this approach supports both through the web development, so you can click things around and get started, and then export everything on your file system and continue there and keep uploading a new version to Plone. And once you have everything on file system, they can be on your version control, so you can easier to get older versions and see the changes. And these can even be testable. So if you go to my GitHub page, my GitHub profile, the most recent repository contains this talk and that example theme from the talk. And there's also a minimal setup for doing robot framework testing with these themes. So what it does, it makes a zip package of your theme and then goes through using Selenium to the browser and uploads the theme. And then you can do robot framework test, acceptance test for the theme, that things are how they should be. And that would make even Timo happy, I think. Of course, this is not possible with you saw me just creating the Plone site. But what you didn't see that in that Plone site, I had 2 special packages to make this approach possible. The most important package is called Collective Theme Site Setup. It's a few years old package of mine. And that package, when you activate theme with that package on, it goes through that theme directory. And from that theme, it can run so-called generic setup imports. So generic setup is stuff in Plone that can export and import most of the global configuration of the sites, including content types and workflows and content rules and portlets, all portlets and then portlet definitions and portlet assignments and the portal route. And all these can be installed when you install a theme. And then there are a few extra features which you can have dexterous XML models in the theme. because it's a lot of dexterity. If you do through the dexterity development and export the content types, you get the dexterity XML model inside another XML file, which is really cumbersome to edit. So you can have those XML files separately on the team and make it easier to edit and manage them. And yeah, it can register your custom permissions. It's a little bit hacky, but it works, as you saw. And also it can register new localization message catalogs. So I don't think it can overwrite existing messages, but it can add there. So when you, for example, workflow translations, I think, need to be in Plone namespace. Localization packages, you can just have Plone message catalog there, and it reads them there. And you can see examples there in that example theme, how it works. And there are one more feature, is it can copy, themes are content in fit like portal resources called folder inside Plone site. And so theme sites can then also populate other portal resources folders than theme folders. And that's not much used right now by default Plone. We do use it a lot in Plone Mosaic, because Plone Mosaic can have content layouts stored in Plone portal resources, so we can populate Plone Mosaic layouts there directly from theme. And when you uninstall theme, it tries to clean up everything. So, it only can do, you can have a uninstall profile in theme that tries to uninstall the registration. By default, it doesn't do anything on that. But it does unregister all the permissions and message catalogs. So it should be safe to use. And this one I will show. So, as I said, you can start developing on your site. And then when you want to go to file system, you want to somehow extract the stuff. So now we create a new theme here. And when we are below that theme folder, this stuff is documented in the README of the collective theme size setup. And I hope I find this. Okay, I need to be careful to find all the letters from the keyboard. So it's export site setup. Yeah, you get a form where you can check the stuff you want to export. These steps depend on what add-ons are installed, so they do use the Plone generic setup package. So I want to export workflows and content types. Done, and then I go back to the theme control panel. There's an example theme. So we have now here install folder there, and if I ever created a Plone profile, general profile, you see like kind of familiar files here. Of course, this exports everything from there. So when you really want to make a reusable theme package with these features, you need to clean this up and like only include the types you want. Like our new types are here at the bottom. So you can start from through the web, create the content types with Dexterity Editor, and create workflows using collective app workflow editor, or just using the old approach through management interface, and then export everything in your team, and then export the file system and tweak everything and upload back. And the Dexterity XML models must be exported separately. They are available to Dexterity content types control panel, selecting it Dexterity content. Then there used to be export button here. Yeah, no. I wonder where they have moved it. Somewhere here is the export button. Oh, yeah, front page. Okay. Yes. Here you can select and then export it. And you can only export, it's enough now to export the schema models and then add them into your team in special directory. And there's another package called QualityFragments. This was our original T-fragment idea is made by Martin Aspeli, but it was never accepted in the Plone app theming, Plone theming core. So I made a separate package of it, and it can you can define theme like view templates in your theme, and they can be used as a fragments as originally designed in your digester rules to make a menu for small snippets, inject small snippets somewhere in your page. But also, then can be configured as a real views for content types. They can also they may either be defined as a default view of the content type in that content type XML definition, or you can go to site and go to manage properties in stroke management interface and manually set the layout attribute to a magic word that matches the layout. And you can also have accompanying Python scripts. These are trusted Python scripts, so that if you have a lot of logic behind the theme, so you can only have your matching name of the theme template, you can call like it was a real view with real methods. And that helps. The main purpose is to keep your template more clean, that you don't need to add a lot of Python in your templates, keep them more readable. And the main benefit here is that we know that usability is hard. It's hard to make good user experiences, and usability is not a very exact science. There are a lot of science areas, a lot of research, and they are mostly how you experiment with people, how you test stuff, how to make it better. And the core idea is you need more iterations, you need feedback. How to have fast iterations, how to get best feedback. That's the most stuff in usability research. So what this approach allows to have faster iterations, and that means more iterations with the same amount of money, because you only have that one theme package and you can instantly upload it onto your site without restarts. Yeah. So I think I saw most of that. I saw some of the things from the theme. So I did, for the example, I made an initial configuration through Plone. Then I exported using the export site setup and used the zip export from the control panel. And it exported next to the XML models, as I said. And then I moved back to file system and finished the development there, and finally packaged and uploaded it. And this is how the layout of my theme looks right now. So there are the usual stuff you know from normal theming. There are templates and manifest and preview and digester rules, and then the default. In Plone 5, you can have each theme can have kind of default bundle. So default bundle of JavaScript, default bundle of CSS, and then out there are the bundles directory has the static resources I added for the Measure.js, the theme fragments, and install contains stuff from generic setup. And then there are the localization message catalogs. And, well, I apologize for that naming practice, so locally/lc message/language. And then the actual file, I didn't want to invent anything new, so I used the practice from Python packages. And then there are the XML models. And then we have a few minutes left, so I saw some highlights. So practically, you can use any JS bundles, JavaScript libraries quite easily this way. There are some gotchas, like I wanted to use Measure.js, which also needed something called images loaded to only make a layout after all images have been loaded. And I used the official distribution of them, and the official distributions are so-called AMD bundled. And what that means is that they don't work by default in Plone 5 because they conflict with the Plone 5 required JS configuration. And make those work just as they are without doing any kind of bundling or compilation of resources, which some have thought it's difficult to do. You need to wrap them at the few lines at the top of the file and one line at the one line at the top of the file and one line at the bottom of the file, so that it doesn't find your required JS configuration at loads. And then you need to have the normal register configuration for the bundle. So you can see these completely in my theme examples. And yeah, I skip. Content types are XML models, and views are just normal Plone views, and there are main filling content core slot, and inside the content core slot for the walls images, we just get it for all the images and render them using the Plone images up with to get the resolution we wanted. There's one tip here is the add content listings. So that's one of these many through the web APIs. There's a package called Plone content listing, and it's documented on that package README file in PyPy. It allows you to easy access on the content of the folder. That makes it easy to iterate all the items and render them. And then this is the magic word that makes that fragment wall of images work as default view of the content type. And it also works by setting that magic team fragment plus wall of images, adding that as a layout property of the content object. It will make that view work. A message catalog looks like any message catalog in Plone Python package. And I even use instances that I 1.8 endued to extract those messages from my templates, and like I do normal Python package development. And this is the magic to add the custom permission there. So in manifest CSD, we can define new permission. We need to have short name of the permission, long name of the permission. Then we can use the short term in dexterity model to make that permission control can the user add that content types. And workflows, content rules can be defined. And finally, I mentioned the data bundles. So that Measure.js comes without CSS, actually. So I have the custom CSS for responsive layouts in that style CSS. And then you have very small jQuery code in script.js that actually activates that Measure.js. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you.